Welcome to the Studio B podcast. Today's episode is Creating Visuals with AI. We are the Learning Design and Digital Innovation team here at the Faculty of Education at UBC. My name is Eduardo. I'm the Learning Technology Specialist here at LDDI. And today I have my two colleagues. Hello.
Hi, I'm Melody. I'm the Marketing and Communications Assistant here at LDDI.
And I'm Cristina Soto. I am the Curriculum and Evaluation Consultant here at LDDI as well.
Excellent, great. And we're back. It's been a while. It's been a while since we did an episode, a few months, but we have more episodes coming up. Great plans for the Studio B podcast, so always keep an eye on what we're coming up with. We're going to start with a land acknowledgement, and Melody is going to help us with that.
Sure. So I'd like to acknowledge that today we're recording on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories of the Musqueam people here on the UBC Vancouver Point Grey campus. And it's a beautiful day here. It's gorgeous and sunny, and we're really grateful to be on these lands that the Musqueam have stewarded for generations.
Wonderful, yeah, so true. So the outline for today, we're going to look at three things. We're going to start with prompting to create images, a few guides on how to do that. Then we're going to dive into dialogical prompting with Cristina. And then we'll finish up with important considerations, things that connect to accessibility, citation, copyright, and things you might be wondering about. A couple of notes for the audience. Remember, we always have timestamps in the video description if you want to jump between sections. Also, everything that we mention regarding articles and research and all of that is going to be linked up in the description as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can watch more of our videos. Okay, so before we get started, I have here a couple of interesting data that I wanted to share with you to get things, running with this topic. So some estimates say that more than 34 million AI-generated images are created every day.
That's a ton. Wow. That's a lot of images.
That's quite a bit,
every day. Okay.
And I think now when you go to the internet, you see so many AI-generated images. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know if these are real or AI-generated images.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to tell what's a human-created image, what's an AI-generated one.
Definitely. Another interesting fact, humans are getting surprisingly bad at spotting fake images. Okay. Mm-hmm. So a 2025 study found that people identified AI-generated images correctly only about 62% of the time. Right. How are you with that? Identifying
I like to feel that I'm good at it, but then, you don't know what you don't know, right? I could be seeing a whole bunch of them every day and being like, oh, that's probably human created, and I just have no idea. Yeah, I think that some of the work that we do here at LDDI makes me feel a little more confident about okay, I know what some of the tells are for AI images, but yeah, it's getting really tricky.
I think it's going to get trickier because every day it improves, so you never know. And you think today that you know, but maybe tomorrow
you won't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, something that happens to me when I'm looking for images for a project or something, I'm not really sure if the image is AI generated now. Yeah. Many times I'm like, is this generated or not generated? I have no idea sometimes. So I'm going to test you, actually. This is a surprise you didn't know this. But I found this page, this app that someone created, and you have to guess if the image is AI generated or not.
That's scary.
Yeah, and I tested that a little bit. And it was not as easy as you might think. So let's give it a try.
Okay.
So first image.
Okay. I'm going to say...
I think it's AI.
Yeah.
I think it's AI.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just say it's not AI. So you're saying it's AI?
Yeah.
You're right, AI. Good. Okay. So you are not within that percentage of people. It seems. Well, let's see with the next ones. What about this one?
Oh, I'm going to say it's real, but I'm doubting a little bit.
I think it's real too. Okay, I'm going to guess real.
First. Yeah, I think it's real too.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's AI.
And you know what's a tell? Because the perspective is this way and the building is open to the other way. So
the perspective looks a little bit odd.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Let's see a few more. Let's see this one.
I'm going to say it's real.
Yeah. I would guess real again, but I'm questioning myself. Let's go real. Let's say real. Human.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
All right.
Back on it.
And let's do a final one. So...
That's tricky.
I think that one's AI. The shadows look weird to me.
Yeah, the shapes as well. Oh, you can even zoom with it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like AI to me. Also, like you see this.
Yeah, the like nondescript transit logo.
Yeah. Okay, so we say AI.
Yeah.
No, that was
Really?
All right.
good.
Wow.
See,
Where is this?
now we're starting to
Exactly. So we didn't do too well.
No.
It's
50-50.
kind of like 50-50. And then we'll link this up if you want to try out this game or share it with someone. I think that's pretty much aligned with the research, what is showing here, 62% of the time.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, and then another interesting fact is that AI image tools have lowered the barrier to visual creation. Before, if you wanted to create something, a graph or take a nice photo, you definitely needed to have the skills, the technology, the know-how. And I don't know if this is necessarily positive. I mean, it is in some ways, because now we have more access to creating things. But for the artists and the people who create these images, traditionally, it might be an area of tension. For sure. And that's something that we'll be discussing later on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think some tension around like it's easier to create fake images now or things that are misleading than
that too. Yeah. Misinformation, deep fakes, all of that.
Yeah.
Great. So that gets the conversation started. Let's begin with section number 1, prompting to create images.
Awesome.
And we're going to look at a gallery by Adobe Firefly. And an important thing of AI-generated images, as we'll see today, is the prompt itself, how detailed it is if you want to get a good output.
Yeah.
So here, as you can see, we see a lot of really cool, really nice AI-generated images, and you can also see the prompt. And we won't spend time reading the whole prompt, but you can see they're pretty detailed.
Yeah.
So this one, for instance,
Information.
a lot of details that create this output. And this is important when it comes to generating AI images, because if you want to reach your vision, you really need to know how to communicate that to the AI. And this applies to ChatGPT, any type of AI output you're trying to create.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn more about that later on. But yeah, what image here captures your attention? Some of them are really good, like really realistic as well.
That one's really cool.
I like that one too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a long prompt.
Can't even see the whole thing. But that's probably why it's so specific.
Yes.
It seems you have to have a clarity of what you want in order to create a really good output.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. All of them seem to be long. Oh, this one is short. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting to see too when you have a short prompt, like how the AI interprets that too.
Yeah.
Like you could come up with something surprising.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a surprise, you definitely want to keep it shorter.
Yeah.
See what it comes up with. Yeah. But if you have a really clear vision of what you want to make, then you probably want to be very specific. Great, so we'll link this up as well. Let's continue now with how to prompt to create images. Melody, go ahead.
Okay. So as we were mentioning, when you're prompting to create images, you want to be very specific about what you're trying to achieve. You want to think about your goals in advance and kind of think about, you almost have to put on a bit of an artist hat and think about what the composition of your image is going to look like, how you can kind of guide the AI with some language around that. It can be interesting to try out some poetic language or like very descriptive. You can give it very clear instructions and talk about colors and that sort of thing. So when you're prompting, kind of the main thing to keep in mind is that you want to give it very clear, purposeful instructions that take into account, the subject, the context, the setting, the style of the image. So if you're looking to create like an animated style image, you'd want to mention that and maybe even, add some references of different types of animation that you're trying to capture. You want to, again, think about the composition of the image. What do you want to be centered? Where do you want the light to be coming from even? You can mention specific colors, those sorts of things. So it's really just about thinking what you want to achieve and then telling that in your prompt to the AI system.
It seems like you will need to have some knowledge, like what to say, some technical knowledge.
Yes, I think it's funny. It's actually much easier to create a good AI generated image if you have some design background or like an idea of, again, that sort of artist perspective. You want to be able to give it the language and the context that it needs.
Although it's not necessary. I mean, if you have that background, you can create like more professional looking images. But if you're very good with the descriptive language, you can also play around
Right.
with it. So
That's true.
It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can learn how to do this. You can learn how to create prompts for better images the same way you can for any sort of prompting in AI. So we're going to show you a little course that Google has actually put together that kind of teaches you how to build good prompts for AI images. So this is a free course from Google Arts and Culture. It's an experiment that they've been working on. So I'm going to launch this here. So it says, say what you see. Are you ready to learn about the art of prompting? So basically what this is, I'm going to start this game here, is that Google kind of walks you through how you would build prompts to create images. So the first thing it's going to do is give you an image that they've generated with Google AI and ask you to describe it. So I'm going to say, this looks to me like a bowl of ramen. Maybe pork ramen. Looks like it's got an egg, some pieces of pork in it.
One of the things you have to take into account is that you only have 200 characters also to do it.
Right, yes.
It has a constraint as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say a bowl of ramen in ramen restaurant. I want to talk about the
I
background.
would say
At
that it's
this
a
point-
ceramic bowl as well.
Yeah.
Okay, a ceramic bowl. Yeah, I like that.
And do you want to mention something about the background as well? Because I see it's blurred and I've noticed that before in prompt as
So it's
well.
like in a first
Yeah.
kind of plain.
Yeah.
Like a
close
camera style sometimes.
Okay, so I'm going to say a ceramic bowl of ramen, including half an egg, pork
Let's
and noodles with chopsticks lifting the noodles. Okay, we're at 101 characters. Okay, and then I'll talk about the background. So background is slightly blurred.
it's some sort of kitchen or bar.
Yeah. Kitchen and with chefs working.
And people eating at the bar as well, right?
Okay, I only have 2 characters left, so we're going to go with that and see what happens. So look, we get to see how close my generated image is. It's going to think about it for a minute here.
It's time to generate.
It's thinking hard.
It's thinking, it was not like that before.
Okay.
Not bad.
Okay, yeah, this doesn't look too bad, actually. It's not the
Pretty
same.
close,
yeah.
Not the same image, obviously, but it's not bad. It's got this hand in it where it didn't before, but
Yes.
yeah.
So it seems like this is forcing you to see the image and describe it in detail.
Yes. Yeah, in the way that you would need to if you were going to prompt for your own image. I see. Okay, so it kind of goes through and gives you a bunch of different images that you can look at and describe. And, I think maybe we gave quite a detailed prompt because we sort of already know how to do this.
Yeah.
But if you're just someone who's just starting out, maybe you learn, as you're going through this, you start with something very general and then you learn to add more details as you go along.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an interesting way to learn about prompting for images if you've never tried it before.
And it has levels, sorry. So this is the basic level.
Right.
It goes up.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Because I was going to say, it seems some of them are more difficult. This one was a little bit more difficult to me.
Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah, the sketch style with the river. Yeah, this seems like it would be harder for sure. Okay, so that was our demo of Google Labs. And now we're going to take you to Adobe Firefly. That was the same one that Eduardo was showing the gallery for before, but we'll take you into the actual image generator and we'll take a look at how we might generate some images with this. So this is the interface for Adobe Firefly, which is Adobe's sort of flagship image generator. And I'm going to use, I think, Image Generator 4, because that's what we have access to with our Adobe plan. This one is paid, but you can, of course, find a bunch of different AI image generators. There's Google, there's all kinds of different ones. So what kind of image do we want to generate? What do you want to find?
Well, it's a beautiful sunny day. Maybe we can create something like that.
Okay. I'm going to say a beautiful sunny day on a university campus. with students walking between classes.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe we also want to mention nature.
sure, yeah. Include natural elements such as trees, grass, and birds, maybe. Okay, so shall we start with that and see? Let's go. And Firefly is nice because it'll give you a few different versions of the image as well that you can choose between.
Do you think we'll see something like UVC?
I don't know.
Most likely.
Well,
Yeah.
It kind of looks like it a little bit.
Yeah, it's very like
North American to me.
yes. Yeah, I think it does read North American. It's got that red brick in the background, feels very like East Coast of North America kind of thing.
Big campus,
Yeah.
lots of tall trees.
Yes.
Did we say big campus?
No, I don't think we
did
did.
mention that, right?
Yeah, we just talked about
Yeah.
university students, so there's some
That
of the
one
natural
looks pretty
elements.
big, yeah.
Yeah.
But since we said nature, maybe that's why I'm imagining like big campuses,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Because
Right.
did we say natural elements such as trees?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not imagining sort of a downtown like university
Exactly.
campus.
Yeah.
This is very sort of idyllic. I don't know what you would see on TV for like an classic American
There you
university.
go. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it comes back with. And then what you can do with this after, of course, you can change the prompt. You can also then edit some of the style. Adobe makes this really easy because they have different styles already in the interface here. So you can adjust the visual intensity. You can change what kind of content you want to use, whether it's art or a photo. You can also add, and this is really cool, like composition references. And that's actually another tip that I didn't mention before when you're prompting. You can actually add reference images to your prompt. You can attach them if there's a specific style or something that you're going for. Yeah, and you can add different effects here as well. Again, like the lighting, that's another interesting one. You can specify backlighting, dramatic light, golden hour. So I'm just going to play with this a little bit, and maybe let's try using this sketch reference to see what it will come up with. And I will maybe reinforce that by saying a sketch of a beautiful sunny day on a university campus. Do we want to make any other additions, or do we want to just let this go?
I think that's okay.
Okay. Let's see what it will do now. Okay, so that's interesting.
That's very different.
It's very different, and it's not what I expected, honestly. I was thinking it would be more black and white, like the reference image here.
Okay.
But it's almost less of a sketch and more of kind of like painting. Like it looks like acrylic or even oil paint maybe. And it's added a bunch of like floral elements that weren't there before. It's very colorful. Yeah, very different style. And some of these I wouldn't necessarily look at this image and go, oh, that's a university campus.
Or not a North American one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it could be a park.
Yeah.
But because actually my alma mater looks very similar to
Does it? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So you can always be surprised by what you will get from these image generators, and it can be actually quite a long process to kind of work through talking to the AI system and work out what exactly you want. You have to tell it, I want you to take away this specific element or add this. It's not just sort of a one and done proposition usually,
Exactly.
if you have a specific vision in mind for your image. So on that note, I'm going to throw this over to Christina, who's actually done a really interesting project recently where she created some really cool AI images through that process of going back and forth with, I think it was ChatGPT that you were using.
Yes, a long time ago.
Right.
It was November, but it feels like a long time ago.
Yeah. It's always like ages in terms of AI technologies. So I'll pass it over to you, Christina, to tell us about your project.
Thank you. So basically with this project, what I had to do was to generate images because a course author wanted AI generated images in his classroom, online classroom setting. So for that process, I actually went another route that is not providing a specific prompting of setting, a subject, and style specifically. I just started doing this dialogical kind of exercise with ChatGPT, initially putting a very general description or the initial description the teacher wanted it, and then having a conversation to see what I needed to reinforce or improve throughout. And that's where another concept for prompting becomes important, and it is constraints, not only provided what we want, but also constraining what we need. So for this particular project, the teacher wanted a lot of visual metaphors throughout the course, but I needed to engage with a visual design that could be sustained throughout the course. So meaning that we have a visual style that was cohesive, and that was also very challenging.
So you needed a bunch of images in the same style, and you needed them to like represent specific things.
Exactly.
Okay.
And let's be reminded that ChatGPT back in November was very different to what you just presented.
Right.
But at that time, we didn't have the possibility of providing references, or they were not embedded. So you would actually need to come up with them and describe them.
Okay.
Initially, I didn't know exactly what the teacher wanted or what I wanted, so I had to iterate a lot.
Is this why you chose that approach of not using that technical language, but more of a dialogue with it?
Yes, because first of all, we were working with metaphors. The teacher didn't provide a lot of specificity other than using AI, and the metaphors. So while looking at the course, I had to come up with something that could go with, let's call it the brand of the course, and also the metaphor. So I had to go through the purpose of the images, and that's very important. When we're working in education, I think the pedagogical purpose of the image is also very important, because the audience, we have to keep the audience in mind in order to think about how they're going to process those images and how they're going to read them. So one of the first things that I encountered with these images when I put the metaphor was that they were very ChatGPT-like.
Okay, right.
So like all of these images that we know, this is generated by ChatGPT. And I did not want that, especially because I do feel, and this is my personal belief, that when you see images that are generated by ChatGPT, you feel kind of not trusting a little bit the content. So in that sense, I wanted a little bit different. So the key inside of this is that we needed the images to represent ideas that were not textual. We didn't want a lot of text or conceptual clues within the images, just the image to represent itself. And that accompanied by a text that goes along with the metaphor, students could actually conceptualize and go into the processes of the inquiry. So in that sense, I started, for example, the first one was the idea of a constellation, and the pedagogical intent of the teacher or the metaphor was, like constellations, our insights come into view when individual moments are connected. Inquiry helps us to slow down and notice patterns, compare perspectives, and make sense of practice together. When I first generated this image, I already had kind of encountered a style that was also sketching. In that sense. So that's why I generated like this. But if you see, it had all the text in it. It had a lot of elements, very distracting, and it was very, very literal. So the idea was started to become a little bit more poetical. So once again, going back to what you said, I decided to start working also with a more poetical kind of language and thinking more about the metaphor in itself.
How did you come up with the style for it?
So initially, because I saw that the kind of images that it was producing were like caricature, I wanted to go into another side. I said, okay, maybe sketching. And then with sketching, it started producing some sketches, but then it had color. And I say color can be distracting because the concept of the course, the design of the course in itself had a lot of color. So I didn't want the images to compete or the course to compete with the images or the images to compete with the course. So I also wanted it in black and white. And to be honest, I had to reiterate the first images as well, because once I got like the style that you're going to see later, I needed to go back to the style. And one way is that once you finished, or when I got to a style that I liked, I uploaded the images. I was like, what kind of style is this one? And it gave me kind of a small prompt of the style. And I started using that one for consistency afterwards. So it's a back and forth thing. It's very dialogical. And at moments, it could be dialectical. And we're going to see how and what the difference between those two would be in this case.
It seems like a discovery process as well. As you're prompting, you're learning about how to prompt it.
And I think that also it goes against the idea that you might become more productive when it comes to using AI.
Right.
Because it took a lot of time and it was not very productive. I had to go a lot of back and forth, and also because I had the constraint of the credits that I had to wait for a long time, and the image creation took longer than what we saw right now. So I had also to wait for a lot of this production or output.
Well, I think that's a good point, because normally people think that AI is going to save you time, and that's true. You know, it does save you a lot of time, but usually when you want to achieve a specific vision, it does take a while. It does take a lot of reprompting and refining and retuning.
Especially at the beginning. Once that you start noticing what you like, what you want, and what it works, and you get the language, you can start repeating that language. And I think the ChatGPT from November to the ChatGPT or the Firefly that we have now has changed a lot. They have changed a lot. So I think that's also helping a little bit throughout. So after this, for example, I needed to remove elements. So I needed to remove symbols that were not as literate and add people, because the idea was to help participants think about themselves in connection to other people from their community. So we're working as a community of teachers. So it came up with this. If you see, the style was a little bit more sketchy, more artistic. That was part of the definition. And that I wanted like denser kind of drawing as well. So this was part of this. But now we started noticing, or I started noticing, a little bit of the biases or the thing that we were looking into the university image. And it is that if you see out of 3 people that are here, one seems like maybe a female person, and the other ones are very short. They have short hair, they're wearing shirts.
Sort of masculine
sort of masculine kind of, right? So the idea was also to start creating inclusivity and once again, not being that textual when you paint the symbols. So I had to keep reiterating. And for example, if you see, these are iterations, and you have to, at that time, you have to explicitly mention that you didn't want certain elements to be removed, because otherwise you would be having a different image every time.
Right.
So I had to specify, please keep the constellations as they are. The image there, just change or eliminate this, and try to make the people a little farther. The idea was the farther the people could be, the less identifiable characteristics to become more inclusive. And that's how I was playing with it. So
and you were not writing the whole prompt again, you were just adding new instructions.
Exactly, yes. And try to create a little bit more of abstraction of the people. So in the end, if you see, we don't have a close-up of the people are far behind with this constellation, trying to allude to the idea of connection, finding patterns, but also being in the community and being observant of those patterns. So that was the process. But if you see, and these are not all the images, it took a while to get here.
It seems like it was a lot of work and back and forth.
A lot of iteration.
Yeah, and probably a lot of like mistakes as well, like it coming back with something that you totally didn't intend.
Yes.
But it's interesting, you get to see that evolution the art went through. And that happens in real art. When you're making something, you typically sketch it and then you change it. Even in music, you have a composition and then you change some elements and the art piece evolves. So we're also seeing that in this case.
Yeah, and it's not only about the image composition in itself, and that's why I was talking about the dialectical and dialogical process, because at moments it's just having the conversation and keep an iteration, but at moments it's just having the conversation to clarify what you want without producing any image, and asking it not to produce certain things from the biases it comes with because of the training that it has had. So you also have to go against what it's putting and asking it also to go against what you're providing to see if you can find another route into that solution.
I'm also thinking, if someone is working on something like this, like a specific style, as it happens with art as well, if you're creating a series or something like that, series of work, normally the first one takes a while, because that's when you're defining the style. And then you can generate more images with that framework. I don't know if that was the case for this one. Did you, because you created more images eventually?
Yes. And eventually the last ones were easier, because what I did also for the last ones is, the images that already were approved, I uploaded them as reference also with the prompt. So look, this is what we have created. See the consistency in the style. I also put the style underneath, and now I walk I work with the rest of the metaphor.
Yeah, that's
in
what I
that
meant.
style. So that makes it easier, at least when it comes to the style
Yes.
part. Yes.
Because now it knows, it understands what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like that, I did it with other kind of images. And if you see it go, you have to be ready also to work with frustration.
Right.
Because despite the fact that you already have a lot in each iteration, it can go back to other places, or it can go back in the design, or it can go to other places. For example, it started all of a sudden providing this white frame
Right.
when I already had like the style. So I also had to talk to it like, okay, in this case, for example, I needed kind of something that helped me with reflection, not just the magnifying glass. So I wanted the book that you can see in this too.
Right.
But I said like, okay, this seems like floating, and like there's no leaf close by to do it this way. So it went here, but then it provided like a male kind of hand, and I was avoiding at all cost to have any issues of representation, for example. So, okay, let's go back to maybe not having the hand, but like in a corner that it might seem like someone has it. And it's not perfect because still the leaves are far, but and sometimes we have to also accept when to stop.
Yeah.
And
Basically can just keep going and going. That happens with art as well. Like the due date usually decides when it's done.
Yes.
But
true.
and how long was it taking to generate each image?
Ooh, I don't recall, but it was a long time.
Yeah, because it did take a little bit to see the final.
Just to get, it could take me, of course, as a generator, I was working on other things, but I could get to 1 to 2 image tops in a day because of the iteration.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you have to account for that time, you have to account for frustration, you have to account that it's not going to be perfect because once again, it's AI and it gets confused sometimes, or you have slob, or like you have to try to aim for the best, and the less elements sometimes you have for reference, the better in some cases. And once again, the important thing is the purpose of the image, where you're working for. You cannot let that.
Interesting. It feels like a real artistic process of just like refining, as I was mentioning. And I think this connects to what we were mentioning in the beginning, how now people have more access to creating images. So people that might not have the artistic skills, they are getting the artistic experience when they're doing something like this.
Yes.
They get to experience that back and forth, even the frustration and all these pieces that are part of creating art.
Yeah.
Yes, I agreed. And that's why with this process, I came to reflect on the process in itself. And I had like some ideas. By no means this is something standard. It's just what my process gave me. And you have to start with meaning, not aesthetics. And I think it also comes back to art. It's not about creating music for the sake of music, but for what you want to actually communicate. In this case, if you have a metaphor, you choose that metaphor and you work with it in terms of the pedagogical stance that you want to share with your participants.
What do you mean by metaphor in more detail, so the audience knows if I'm working with a metaphor?
So, for example, in this particular case, the course author didn't want the images to be straightforward. They wanted people to look into it and start to see what they could represent in terms of the content of the course and their own life. So it's like a reflected starting point for the course to share.
And it does feel like that, because when you see these images, they make you, at least for me, it makes me think.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, what does this mean? This is interesting.
Yeah.
That's part of it. So, and with AI, as it is sometimes too exact, working with the metaphor becomes a little bit more difficult. And there's where the challenge lies.
Right. Like it takes things very literally sometimes when I see. Yeah.
That's where the challenge lies. And I think there's where we have an open opportunity for education, in the sense that sometimes we're really afraid of AI and the prompt and like the cognitive offloading that our students or we ourselves might have with it. But also if it's used correctly, like in this kind of dialogical conversation with it, you can help students become more critical about it. And there's actually a lot of research, emergent research that talks about how if you ask students to create images, and we're gonna put the references for the research in our webpage. It actually helps a lot for students to start thinking critically about what their purpose was, their output, and how it's different.
Right.
And if we keep on working on these iterations, they actually have to learn in that process to be more refined in their ideas, thinking also about the audience, because when you talk to an AI, you're not necessarily thinking about your audience, but the audiences that it is coming from with the training. So that also helps you understand the biases that it has. And some of the research proposed actually the dialectical prompting to help students be more critical is to actually ask the AI to go against what you're saying, to help with your reflection, and then in the end, be able to be more specific about what you want and create the output.
So just to clarify, so dialogical is when you're sort of talking back and forth with the AI, and dialectical is asking it to kind of critique you or be like, play like a devil's advocate.
Critiquing exactly also.
Right.
And that's a good way to start a little bit more of critical thinking and a good use of AI, for example, for education in our general setting.
Yeah, that's always that we always explain in the context of education. AI can be a great tool for critical thinking, creating outputs and then evaluating what it created.
Exactly.
Like thinking about its thinking.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think that's a great tool. We do a lot of workshops here. We look at a lot of AI tools, how they can be used. And I always say, think about the output, critically assess the output.
Exactly.
And that process is so important because that way people build that skill, which is essential in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this connects very well with our next section, which are the considerations when it comes to generating AI images, which also connects to usually connecting any type of AI content.
Yeah.
Because many times we've seen questions of people, what's the copyright? Do I own the image? Or making sure that the image is accessible and different things. So we're going to be exploring those now. Let's begin with accessibility and generating alt text.
A good usage that we can have today with AI too is the idea of accessibility. So for example, in educational settings, we keep talking a lot about accessibility and the need to make our content accessible, but little sometimes we do because it's a lot of work. And I think here AI could be to good use for that purpose. For example, in creating alternative text for images. Sometimes we don't know how to describe them, and AI could be really helpful in that sense. But also, once again, this needs an iteration process, and it has to have some sort of
you need to have that human in the loop, like looking at it and saying, is this actually what I meant to describe?
And revision, because normally, once again, as we mentioned before, AI is too literate. So it's going to describe the image as what they see. But for example, if we want the images to have a metaphorical kind of nuance to it or a meaning to it, we need to also see that that's part of it. So in that iteration, you can ask for it to describe what it is, but also telling it that you need to account also for that metaphorical piece or that purpose that you have in mind. So it is actually really good for that possibility. Also nowadays, if you have a video, generating an automatic transcript is easier with certain tools, so that's very helpful as well, because we sometimes tend to forget that videos need to be accessible as well.
Great, thank you. And the next one is citation. So that's a big question as well. Now we're using more AI tools and they need to be cited, of course. It connects to what you were mentioning, that we need to acknowledge that work has been done as a collaboration with AI. So, but I think many times people are not really sure how to citate or how that's work. What can you share about that?
For citation, there are two things I would love to talk. So first, from the standpoint of an educator, sometimes as educators, we might be afraid to disclose that we have used AI because we lose credibility in front of our students or the institution, I don't know. But there are articles like the one of EDUCAUSE of this year that mention that when teachers are open about their use of AI, if they disclose it, students are a little bit more confident in also disclosing their use of AI. And I think it is important to generate that rapport with students and in the institution at large, that if we're going to use it, we all need to account for our usages. And in that accounting, we could go just saying, and you can decide with your students or in your institution how you want to go, and it's just saying, okay, I use AI for this. Or you can also go with the APA or Chicago style, saying that you are the author, what year it is, what tool you used.
Right.
For the tool now, you have to not only say the tool, but also the model, because models change very quickly.
Right.
So you have to account for the model as well. And if you can, a prompt of what you used, so people can know what's your authorship and what is not, right? So that's part of it. But it's really recommended also as an ethical stance and for us to recognize that relationship we have nowadays with technology.
It seems to me like it could be a really good way to like open up a conversation between you and your students too, and like ask them to kind of think more about the ethical implications or about that kind of dialogical process. If you're open about your use of AI, students will feel more comfortable like having that conversation with you and saying their own feelings about AI too.
And I think that the ethical conversation is an important one. Because if we have this open conversation about the ethics, not only about environment, but also about whose people work are we using, we also can talk about the students, about the processes and what we might lose also if we rely too much on the AI. So that ethical conversation opens up a lot of opportunities to be critical about the use of AI in itself.
Yeah, I think that transparency piece is really important, and it's like in any relationship, transparency always creates great outputs, results.
And creates more trust between two people. People in a class,
That's true. And you can explore more things and learn more about that. And I think as long as you know that you are using AI safely, following privacy guides and all of that, it's completely okay to be transparent about it.
Yes.
In terms of that copyright piece, Eduardo, what can you tell us about that? Because I know that's a big concern people often have is like, do I own the copyright for this image that I've created? Does, ChatGPT own it? What can you tell us about that? Yeah,
it's really a gray area in many ways because, law was built before AI. So then we have this new era we're in, creating AI content, and the law doesn't apply to that necessarily. So a lot of adjustments are happening. And with that, also many gray areas, as I mentioned, people don't really know because there are no laws for it. So the question is always, if I generate something with AI, do I own it? And this is something that we've been asked many times in workshops and things, especially when it comes to graphics. If I create a logo, is this my logo now? How does it work? So there's an important distinction to know when it comes to AI, which is usage rights do not equal copyright ownership.
Okay.
So when we generate AI output, normally you can use it. You're free to use it. You have the right to use it. But that doesn't mean that you own it necessarily. And most AI companies will have that noted in their notes. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. But at the same time, it can create some issues, definitely, because you might be putting out the content as this is my copyright, but that's not really the case. So we just need to be mindful about that.
That also leads to the question of co-authorship, right? So you are going to state, for example, if you disclose that you co-produce something with an AI tool, but at the same time, it also begs the question, now, are you the author? Is AI the author? Or the authors are all of those other references that you used to create this? And this is why certain authors are working on the idea of resistance towards AI-generated images, particularly. So, for example, a lot of artists are working now on data poisoning. I don't know if you knew that.
I haven't heard of that. What is that?
So, data poisoning is artists are working on the back end of the image or in the metadata to change all of the data that AI could read. So it creates slop. Slop is when whatever image you have are not really well generated or they become like too predictable as well. So, for example, artists, let's say, in order to avoid their art being stolen, what they do is that in the metadata, they say, okay, this is an image of a cat, and they draw a mouse. So every time that AI trains with those images, it's going to get confused because of the way that it reads the pixels behind the...
Because the AI isn't like seeing the image in the way that we would. It's reading the, the code and the data behind that image.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's fascinating. And it is like kind of a big issue thinking about this idea of how AI was trained on the work of all these artists who were never compensated for their work being used in this way. Often they didn't even know that their images had been kind of scraped up and brought into the systems. So that's definitely something to think about when you're using AI. Again, you're sort of standing on the shoulders of people who may not have given their consent to have their work used in this way, and they've not been compensated for it. There's some different ways that companies are trying to work with that now. I know Adobe says that they have like a compensation program for artists who, give their images to their stock library, and then Adobe uses those for training.
Okay.
But it's not always, there's not a lot of transparency sometimes into those agreements, and we don't know how much artists are being compensated. So it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And I would think that's a small percentage of people doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's already trained with billions of images.
Yes.
So, many artists have argued that someone stole our work.
Yeah, I imagine there will be quite a lot of litigation in the courts about that in the coming years.
Yeah, and I would just mention that that's something that is still evolving. So we cannot give a definite answer on what's the stance right now, the legal stance.
Yeah.
So we just need to keep an eye on things. And that applies to many areas of AI, because AI is a new thing, and also it's tricky because AI evolves so fast.
Just from using it and while we're using it as well.
Yeah, and the last piece that we get questions about often in terms of ethics is environmental impact. Of course, this is a huge issue now as well. So AI uses a lot of water to cool the data centers that sort of run the chips that keep AI going. It uses a lot of energy. A lot of that energy is not produced, is produced through fossil fuels. It's not produced in a clean energy kind of way. And there's a lot of impacts as well. When we're setting up data centers in the desert, what is that doing to people's livelihoods and the water that they rely on, those sorts of things? So again, there's no sort of easy answer to those questions. You just have to sort of make your own decision about where you stand in terms of environment. Try not to generate a million images if you can avoid it. But it's hard now as AI gets more integrated into our daily lives. So lots to think about.
Yeah, for sure. So based on everything that we've discussed, here we have a couple of things that you can do to make sure you are generating images in a safe way. So clearly label AI-generated images in educational content. Fact check the visuals, because AI can create inaccuracies or misleading images. Don't present AI images as real photos unless disclosed. Use trusted tools like Adobe Firefly when possible. Protect student privacy, very important one. Avoid uploading student photos without consent. And teach students AI literacy. That's the big one.
That's important.
How AI images are made, misinformation and deepfake risks, and these different points.
And to that I would add too, each university, each school, all of these places have different policies and different procedures when it comes to AI. So have a look at what policies your school district or university kind of includes, and what they want you to do in terms of AI safety and security too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It was an interesting conversation. We hope it's going to be useful for the audience, and everything is going to be linked up. So make sure you take a look at those.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.